Good evening, this is Stormcastle. Today, we're going to talk about characters' first appearances. And, if you like this video, please give a thumbs up. If you have comments, and I'm hoping this will spark a lot of comments because there's much discussion needs to be done, please leave a comment. Subscribe if you haven't. Share if you like. If you don't want to subscribe, I'd appreciate it. But today I want to talk about comic book first appearances and cameos. Now, we're going to start off with one of the biggest sources of discussion. In fact, probably the biggest source of discussion. Incredible Hulk 181. Note that I'm using facsimile copies for some of these books because I don't own a copy of Incredible Hulk 180 or 181. They're not actually on my list of books that I, if I had got an amazing deal, I pick them up, but they're not books that I personally am hunting for. And a couple of these books I am looking to get, I'm trying to get a good deal on. So, anyways, go along with that. We're gonna talk about first appearance Wolverine. For years, for a long time, the first appearance was considered 180. It was the popular. He appears here at the end of it. He talks. He actually appears in a couple panels. His shadow appears a couple. But when it comes down to it, fans and honestly dealers at this point too have a stake in it, is that issue 181 is considered the actual first appearance because Wolverine's on the cover. Even though, yes, he appears here in a cameo, even though he appears in the panel, this is considered a cameo. And the more desirable, of course, is the Incredible Hulk 181. And everybody considers this, and that's the book. And metrics of sales and desire, people want this. And honestly, I like Wolverine. Wolverine's a good character. I like the Hulk. I am neither a super big Wolverine fan or a super big Hulk fan. And I know that Wolverine fans that I've talked to over the years would always go for one of these over one of these if they have the opportunity, because that's what they want. It is an amazing cover. I cannot get it. And I'm doing this mostly with Marvel books because these are the ones I have easily there. But another character that is part of the cameo first appearance controversy, or the discussion I prefer it as is Gambit. Gambit first appears in the Uncanny X-Men Annual number 14. He appears there, but most people consider that the cameo because Uncanny X-Men 266, which came out a month later, has him on the cover, and it is a much better, people rather have this than the the other thing, so that this once again becomes one of those books that is the first appearance and becomes more desirable. And honestly, it's probably because that the character is on the cover. I don't have a copy of the Uncanny Annual, which I'm trying to get a hold of, and I'm trying to get a copy of Uncanny 266. But and I should pull another book out. But then you have another very popular character, Venom. I am not a Venom fan, so I'm gonna come out and make there. Doesn't hurt my feelings that there are people out there who are big Venom fans. Doesn't hurt my feelings for people out there who love Todd McFarlane. I've been in a discussion with why you get Stan Lee to sign it in a Amazing Spider-Man 300. People are like, well, Stan created the character, and I'm like, yeah, you just get Stan to sign a Stan book. But whether that's a different discussion in a different video. But this is considered the first they consider the full appearance 300. Again, that's a facsimile copy. Even though, technically speaking, he shows up in 209, which they consider as a cameo. And honestly, and of course, the alien costume appears in 252, and Eddie Brock appears. Honestly, I forget where Eddie Brock's first appearance is. Eddie Brock has appeared much earlier. I'm sorry, I'm using my computer to this. Normally, I would have this all laid out on a different thing, but and honestly, if I remember correctly, this is actually a much better looking cover. So again, this is an iconic Todd McFarlane cover. It's an iconic look. This has been homaged by many people, including Todd's done a bunch of spawns with it. And again, the question is, but then you get to like older characters like Emma Frost's first appearance in X-Men 129. I really do need to get copies of this. And Dazzler, her first appearance is 130. She's on the cover. Emma Frost first appears here. She is not on the cover. Even though she has a later cover appearance, this is still the more valuable one because it's a much older and she appears earlier in the story. And I understand the logic. And like I said, this is the first appearance of Dazzler, and she's on the cover. There's no denying that Emma Frost is not appearing in the book. But, comes to these books here, and I understand it's a matter of like, well, he only appears for a panel or so, or it appears in-shadowed, and that would make an amazing bit of a rule, except this. And I am trying to get myself a copy of this book. I'm trying to find a copy with the tattoos. This book is considered the first appearance of the Hobgoblin. It is an incredibly iconic cover. I mean, honestly, can we just look and enjoy what a beautiful cover this is? This is a classic cover that has been homaged many times. I believe there's a couple Bat books with it. I know Spawn has. There's a recent Miles Morales book, Miles Morales, where the Hobgoblin is wearing Miles' outfit in there. And this is a classic, iconic cover. Except he only appears in costume in the last panel, and he doesn't fight Spider-Man at all in this book. We see a couple bits about talking, but this book, and this is unbleached. I got it really cheap. I'm trying to find myself a much better copy. This book is actually the first appearance. This is the first fighting of Spider-Man and the Hobgoblin. I'm really sorry. I got it ridiculously cheap, so that's why I picked it up. Even I'm looking at getting myself a much better copy. And this is their full fight. This is when they first meet. Spider-Man gets the name and he sees them and they face off, and the fight, of course, is utterly unresolved because that is how it is. But this is the book that people want, and honestly, that's an amazing book. Even if this was like in better colored, this goes for like $30-$40. Most things I've seen for it, where this is a $400, $500, or $600 or more book. And honestly, the cover is, which kind of makes me, why is this considered the first appearance, even though, and that isn't even the first appearance of Roderick Kingsley. Roderick Kingsley appears in an issue of Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man, like 42 or 46. Before he gets the Hobgoblin suit and everything, before he, that's, technically speaking, his first appearance. And that's a book that nobody looks for, because honestly, nobody really, it's not any on most people's radar. But this is the cover, and And honestly, when it comes down to books like these, even though this is not the first appearance, but it's taken as, and this is not really the first appearance because that's where it is. I think it comes down to the cover and how amazing the cover artist is. Again, this is a better cover than Amazing Spider-Man 299. 238 is a much, much better cover than 239. I mean, honestly, sun-bleached and all. Discounting that, I wish, like I said, I'm working on getting a better copy. But this is the much better look. This is the iconic look. And I've seen people fight in all kinds of comic groups like, no, this is the first appearance. One guy actually has a signed last page of this by Roy Thomas, the writer, the creator of Wolverine. And he signed it. It says the actual first appearance of Wolverine. Has the guy had written. I've seen the person showing off, even though people consider. And honestly, does it simply come down to people like, it's like the more desirable cover. The Uncanny X-Men annual is part of I think a Future Past story. It's not, like I said, it's not a very particularly awesome cover. Gambit isn't on the cover. Is it simply they're going to say, well, because he's on the cover, because this is such a good cover, even though this is an ugly version of his outfit, the corner box though has the cover. Does it come down to which is more desirable cover? I mean, again, this is something you can't argue that, Emma's not on the cover because she wasn't as an important character at the time to write, for the story, where Dazzler's on the cover because Marvel was about to push a Dazzler book, and they were trying to push Dazzler to be seen. That's why Dazzler's on the cover. I mean, honestly, the same thing could be said about the character Domino. Domino first appears as Copycat in New Mutants number 98, and then she cameos, and they say it's a cameo of herself. The real Domino is in X-Force number 8, but she appears on the cover of X-Force number 11, and that's considered her first full appearance, even though theoretically, she's appeared in number 8. Honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with covers, because if you follow the rule, if you set a rule with Wolverine, like, well, he appears only on the last panel and as a blacked out figure with a couple lines of dialogue somewhere else, but he doesn't fight the Hulk until here. We get a whole chunk of it. I mean, then that's the first appearance of the Hobgoblin, and that's the cameo. Even though that honestly is the much better cover, that's not a cover you usually see homaged, especially the sun-bleached version. This is the cover you see. Like I said, there was the most recent Miles Morales run. You see the same exact thing. The Hobgoblin's tearing Miles' costume in half. But anyways, what do you think? Do you think that it's simply the more desirable cover that actually sets the real first appearance? Or are you one of those people who goes, Hulk 180 is where he first appears, and I will want that book over 181? And honestly, if that is what you consider the first appearance of Wolverine, you'll be saving yourself a bunch of money. Do you say Amazing Spider-Man 299 is the first Venom, and that's the book I want over this one? Honestly, there are probably more signed and graded copies of this, so if you were going to sign and grade a copy for Todd McFarlane, $2.99 might be the better issue to do. Is this your first Gambit, or is the other Gambit your first Gambit? I'm sure there are many other characters I couldn't think of DC characters the same exact way off the top of my head that have provoked this kind of discussion, everything. And honestly, I'd like to hear your thoughts. You know, what you think. Comments below. Which one are you the? You know, honestly, the better cover is what I want. Or do you want? Well, I'll stick to my guns and say that that's the first appearance kind of thing. I would love to hear comments. You know, this is a conversation that I'd like to have more, but sometimes if you say something like this in one of those big comic groups, well, anyways, and I'm going to close out showing off the Superior Hobgoblin thing. I mean, I am trying to hunt a copy that's myself, and I definitely need another copy of that because and I just wanted your all thoughts on it. I'm going to close out showing off the Hobgoblin because out of all these characters here, that's the character I like the most. And this is Stormcastle saying have a good one. Bye.